So the next lecture, lecture 9, I'm talking about uncertainty, which is very close to our reality life because in real life decision we sometimes we don't have so much information, so we make decisions basically under uncertainty. So there is a key concept is expected utility and expected value. Expected value is equal to the probability of each outcome times the value of that outcome. If a random variable x can take the value that is x1 to xk, and each value occurs with probability p1 to pk, then the expected value of x equals to x1 times p1 plus x2 times p2 plus plus until xk times pk. So a fair gamble means zero expected value. Is so it's just expected, not really zero. But if you play if your amount of playing the gamble is enough, that will close to that zero. So the expected utility is the probability weight average of utility. That is utility x1 times probability p1. Yeah, because we use utility instead of uh, x, which is prices, because sometimes we make a decision, we do something, not just expected those um accounting those price matters. Sometimes we do a thing may come from our happiness, or I just want to help another people. So that is more close to utility. So here is expected utility comes from. Like for example, different than utility of expected value, since utility function usually concave due to diminishing marginal utility of income. Diminishing marginal utility of income means that the next dollar is worth less to you than the last one was in terms of happiness you get. Next part is risk preferences. There are three types of risk preferences. The first one is risk averse. It's concave utility, diminishing marginal utility income. For example, your utility function equals to root utility, root cost, root consumption, or something. The second is risk neutral, linear utility, and the constant marginal utility income, a same number, when an agent only cares about expected value. So your utility function equals to C. The last category is risk loving. Is convex utility and increasing marginal utility income. That means if you get more, you are more you want more. If you give one thing, then the next thing's utility is greater than this one. So it's convex. For example, your utility function is equals to C times C. And let's talk about applications. The first is insurance. Risk averse people will pay money to turn a gamble into a certain payoff since they get higher utility from certain income than from a gamble with the same expected value. The minimum amount they are willing to pay for this is their risk premium. The risk premium rises as the size of loss rises because people um commonly they are risk averse. They don't want to lose. They feel more strongly emotion of loss than gain. So holding are the valuable constant. The risk premium falls as income rises because loss is closer to linear. The latter behavior is a puzzle. Maybe risk averse at low incomes and risk loving at high incomes. Because everyone buys lottery even though the expected value is very small. Here is the takeaway. You need to know how to explain why there is less risk aversion for small gambles. And because your loss is very small, so your marginal utility is more close to linear. That is your risk aversion effect not very apparently compared to the um high value gambles. Yeah, because once you lost you lost a lot of money in high money gambles. So that's it. Given a utility function, be able to determine whether the agent is risk neutral, risk averse, or risk loving. Just see the the curve is convex, concave, or just linear. Calculate the expected value and the expected utility from a gamble, given a utility function and a description of the gamble. Calculate the risk premium of insurance for insurance, given a utility function and a description of the relevant risks. Let's talk about asymmetry information and social insurance. What's social insurance? In the insurance market, there is information asymmetry. Up basically, yeah. The purchasers of insurance may know more about their insurable risks than the seller insurer does. So in this case, the insurer will be reluctant to sell insurance because they don't know what's the whole condition of your like health or your life. So they they actually take more risks if the if you know more than the insurer. So they are reluctant to sell insurance since he will be worried that only those with the insurer against problem will demand insurance. So take health insurance for example. The insurers may think those sick people will come to buy insurance. So that is if he don't have enough information of your health problem, they won't sell you insure because if you are sick, then your health is going to go there are more larger possibility of dying, so they don't want to take those risks. Okay, so moral hazard is a central feature of insurance markets. If families buy fire insurance for their house, they may be less likely to keep fire extinguishers handy. If people have health insurance, They may be less likely to take precautions against getting ill. If workers have unemployment insurance, they may be less likely to search hard for a new job. Moral hazard is a problem because of it lowers the efficiency by removing productive traits and causing revenue rising. So it those are the problem of social insurance. So what's the social insurance in the US? These programs share the following features. Insure you against some adverse events like retirement, illness, injury, job loss, financed by universal payroll taxes. All workers pay in as a function of their earnings. Key programs are Social Security insure against loss of earnings due to retirement, disabilities, and longa- long longevity risk. Medicare provides health coverage to the elders, and the disability insurance, workers' compensation, and employment insurance each protect against specific labor market conting- contingencies. So what's the to know here? Insurance markets face adverse selection. When individuals know their own risk, but insurers cannot, high risk individuals disproportionate, disproportionately enroll, driving up premiums that and potentially collapse the market. The moral hazard arises once insured. Protection against the losses reduces precautionary effort, leading to overuse of benefits or riskier behavior that imposes additional cost. Government intervention, mandates or subsidies or public provision can solve adverse selection by pooling risk across a broad population, but must balance against ensure increased moral hazard. That's all about that's all about uncertainty. We talk about the expected value, expected utility, and three types of risk preferences application, like insurance and the risk premium of insurance or the lottery behavior. And we fall into social insurance, which is adverse selection and moral hazard is a very strictly is a very freely through thorny problem for US. So that is the answer the uncertainty. Thank you for listening. The next part I'm going to talking about is efficiency and equality. See you next time. Bye bye.